The status quo has prevailed in Malaysia, with Barisan Nasional, the ruling coalition party, holding on to power in Sunday's election. With me now is David Pilling, the FT's Asia editor, who's just returned from Kuala Lumpur. During the campaign, we heard a lot about how this election was going to change Malaysia, yet Barisan Nasional, which has dominated politics for more than 50 years, has held on to power. So has Malaysia really changed at all?
I think it has changed an awful lot. I mean, we have to remember a few things. First of all, the opposition actually won the popular vote, 51% of the popular vote. Barisan Nasional, the National Front, led by Umno, I think won really because of the benefits of incumbency. It had thrown around an awful lot of money prior to the election. The constituencies are drawn in such a way that very much favours the ruling coalition. There were also some intimations of perhaps electoral fraud, and that was a big factor. But still, I think incumbency has been very important. And I think this is if 2008 was a kind of a wake-up call, then I think Umno has really been sort of shaken this time.
The election exposed a number of social fault lines in the country between the urban and rural populations, and also ethnic splits, with the Chinese community predominantly backing the opposition. Prime Minister Najib has already said that the government needs to deal with these tensions, but what can they really do to sort of confront them?
Well, I think it is a big problem. I mean, the Chinese, as you say, they left in what Najib called a tsunami to the opposition. Even in the urban areas, the Malays, who have traditionally voted for Umno, of course, they were sort of began to peel away. I think really the message is that the country is sort of fed up of the race-based politics, the ethnically based politics that were really the kind of staple of Umno, particularly under Mahathir Mohamad, who ran the country for 22 years. I mean, that system has now become corrosive. It's instead of helping Malays, it really appears to have helped a kind of narrow clique of cronies who sort of hang on for government contracts. And I think there's a general feeling in the country that this system now has outlived whatever use it may once have had, and the country needs to move on. So I think what the ruling coalition now needs to do is to make Malaysia a more modern economy, one based on merit and on equal opportunity, not on race. And what they claimed, of course, was that their policies somehow kind of united an ethnically diverse nation. I think the evidence now is that rather than uniting the nation, these policies have actually begun to divide it, and now really need to be unwound.
If that's the case, I mean, investors this morning showed their relief at the result when the markets opened up something like 7%. Are they right to be confident that Prime Minister Najib will actually make good on his promised reforms, and will they be able to hold together and present a united Malaysia?
I think it might be actually very difficult. I mean, as I said, Najib won, but he sort of squeaked through, and it's just possible that the party will now take revenge on him, rather ironically, really, because he probably actually won it for them. But still, Najib is now probably in danger. What he may need to do, having given away an awful lot of money in the run-up to the election, he may now need to claw some of it back. There's talk of raising sales tax. There's talk of cutting subsidies. These are not really policies that a Prime Minister has just sort of scraped through. They're really likely to push through. I mean, I think the markets kind of were relieved because Anwar Ibrahim's three-party coalition was definitely a bit of a mess and not really ideologically coherent. So they probably kind of feared for what that would mean. But the idea that this kind of fairly narrow victory for Umno somehow means that everything's going to be back on track, I think markets might find that that doesn't go quite to plan.
David, thank you very much.